Hello there, it's Melissa. As promised, this is the second video that is the follow-up on heart chakra stones, particularly the three that I recommend for the Anahata, which is again the heart chakra, just because of their three specific energies. Please watch the video previous to this if you're just catching up to this one, just for context, because I may skip some things that were mentioned in the first. The three stones that we talked about were rose quartz, green aventurine, and fluorite. What we're talking about in this video, because we went over kind of the specific energies that each of those have, their particular attunement connections to each different aspect that you might want to encourage or dispel or be working on, particularly with the heart chakra. Now we're talking about how to actually utilize those, right? How to utilize the actual crystals in ways that might benefit you, to help, to acknowledge, to use. How do you turn these stones that you now know their energies, right? So how do you use them? How do you use it? So there's a really quick base with working with any crystals, and I think the heart chakra is a great place to start with this. And I'll go over this at some other time in its own right, but how to utilize a crystal can be totally different depending on the crystal, which is a little tricky, but it's really not, because the first step to utilizing crystals is energetically connecting with them, finding out what they're speaking to you, right? And even though we talked about kind of specifically what those energies are for these particular three, well, then how do you use that? How do you tap into that? How do you energetically connect with the crystal? Just knowing that is great, but what are the ways you can be harnessing that energy? That's what this video is about. So with any crystal, especially people who've never worked with crystals before or don't have an inherent connection with them, they don't feel anything in particular, they're not quite sure, I would recommend this to anyone. And this is for any crystal across the board. Start with self. So start with you, right? You want to talk to the crystals, you got to start with you. And the best way to start with you is to actually open yourself and tune yourself in. Boot up the computer before you start trying to use the app. That's basically what you're doing, right? You got to have the app open in order to work with something. So this is how you open your app. And I know that's a ridiculous analogy, but I'm doing it for the kids. So an easy starting point is this is your app, right? So your hands. I'm not wearing rings, which is very uncommon for me. I took them off particularly to do this video. The only reason I am not wearing rings is I took them off because I recommend that if you have rings on and a lot of things on your hands, that if you're trying to do this exercise, you take them off so that you get a little bit of a cleaner, nothing convoluted, nothing impeding what you're trying to accomplish here. And this is what you're trying to accomplish. Creating an open reading energy of yourself where you're woken up to feeling the energies and hearing anything from these crystals. When I say hearing anything from them, I truly do mean connecting with them and attuning with them. And sometimes there's vast, support, knowledge, empower. Like there's so many beautiful things that these crystals can energetically give, and they are ready too. It's about getting yourself ready first. So look at it this way. You're in a room, you're doing other things, and there's a movie on a TV somewhere in the background. You can kind of hear the ebb and flow of it's an action movie, or there's drama, or there's something, but you can't hear the words that are being said. You have no idea of the context. You don't go, you can tell there's something going on, but it's almost white noise where you can maybe pick up little bits and pieces. Now, if you go into the room with the TV on and you sit down and you focus, you're watching the story, you're listening, you're looking, you're invested and tuned in, your mind, body, everything is paying attention to it. It's a very different experience. You are hearing a message, an entire story, you're feeling, you're responding, you've got everything tuned in, right? Kind of the basic idea of what you're doing when you're tuning yourself in. to things that are around you that may feel like they're so psychically disconnected. Crystals are one. So back to where I'm saying, start with your hands. So here's the exercise I would recommend. Take a few deep breaths in. It's always good if you can, because it helps get you to a balance point. So all that you're trying to do when you do those deep breaths is get yourself to a balance point where you're ready and focused on what it is that you're doing. You're bringing yourself into self, and that's wildly important if you're working with these. You'll notice my voice dropped and I got a hell of a lot calmer. I'm on video. This is not my favorite, all the things. But just doing that tiny bit already calmed me down to where my focus is a little bit clearer and better. Everything is just a little bit calmer and ready to receive. Okay, this is the exercise you would do with your hands. You would take them and start rubbing them together. And it doesn't matter if you rub them up and down, side to side, however, what you're going to be doing is you're trying to kind of wake up this little piece of you that can read. And it can read in a way you might not imagine. So you're going to notice really easy stuff. As you do this, your hand, you're going to notice warmth. You're going to, of course you are. You're causing friction in your hands, right? You're going to notice warmth. You might notice a little tingling, a little circulation, moving back and forth. These things are all known quantifiers. Also, right now, as you're doing this, you're actively connecting multiple parts of self right now. So your brain is going, I feel sensation. Your brain is communicating to all the things in your body, right? I feel sensation in my hands. I feel this back and forth. It's waking things up and connecting them online to what you're doing to open this app. So here's what you're looking to do when you do this, right? And you don't have to put a lot of pressure. I recommend you don't, actually. But as you do this, what you're looking for is this. At a point, you'll start spreading your hands apart, right? When you do and you start feeling like there's almost something there, like maybe something a little cottony or a little bit of something connected, that's what you're trying to open. You're trying to open this kind of slight energy field within your hands. You don't have to buy into it. I just want you to try it until you feel something kind of like this, right? Where you feel this like almost memory connect as you pull your hands apart. So there's nothing right now connecting my hands, but as I move them back and forth a little bit, I start to feel something. I start to feel like this little cotton, right? Like something's still there. Like as I'm pulling them apart, I feel it. Well, that's energy. That's allowing you to read. That's allowing you to tune in. And especially if you do this in conjunction with that little bit of breathing beforehand. So right now, you're opening yourself to receiving messages from these crystals, right? You're going into the room that has the TV on. You're putting your eyes onto the screen. You're actually starting to focus. So how do you use this now that you've done this, right? There's two ways that I would say are probably the easiest. One is, let's say, I'm going to use this here. This is that piece of fluorite, right? It's sitting on a table. So now that you've opened your hands, it could be as simple as just hovering your hand over it. And you might start to feel suddenly something, right? Like an energy. It might be really, really not easy to define initially, but you could feel anything from a change in temperature, a coolness. You might get a thought or a memory or a remembrance. That's a thing. A lot of people, when they go, ooh, this reminds me of something. Those are the beginning of messages, right? They're just not clarified yet. So this is one way. And what you're doing is energetically connecting to the crystal, right? You're seeing if it's talking to you. And it is. It's just a matter of, do you speak the language yet, right? So that's one way. Another way that's beautiful is to actually place it directly in your hand and kind of feel and see if anything imparts. So this is the first step, right, to utilizing a crystal, is actually establishing an energetic connection with it. It's a neat experience. I'd like for all of you to try it at some point just to see what happens. Just see what happens. What have you got to lose, right? See what happens. And you'll notice that it might be different with each different crystal that you do, which is poignant in understanding that they all each have their own energy. They all each have their own, messages, knowledge, energies, things that can be relayed, things that can be tuned into. So there you go. Step one is energetically tuning in and connecting with your crystals. You might get more information out of that than you could believe as a starting point. Okay, so general, I would say do that with any crystal if you can. All right, now we're going to get to the particulars of tuning into each individual crystal, right? So how do you utilize rose quartz in particular in the way that we've talked about it in the previous video about what its benefits are and uses and energies for the heart chakra? Well, in the same way, I'd want you to energetically always start by connecting to the crystal and seeing if there's anything there that immediately starts speaking to you or connecting to you. With almost any stone, you can do what's called body connect, right? So it's kind of like this, but it's also this. It's hard to do because I'm not laying down. But if I was laying down, I might rest this over my heart chakra and lay down. And while I'm doing some breathing, think about what it is energetically from this stone I'm trying to draw, right? Compassion, self-love, empathy, understanding, helping with those blockages, grief, sorrow. I would let this sit here and attune and breathe and listen, because you might get guidance and messages as you do this, right? These stones are wildly attuned and beautiful for helping you also release blockages, giving you insights and knowledge. Fluorite would be a great one, especially when you're unsure. You know there is upset. You know there's issues. You know there's stuff going on. So using fluorite as a meditative stone in that way. This one likes to connect with divine clarity and understand. So this one's going to tell you, this is your truth. This is your divine truth and honesty. If you're kind of not sure about a situation and what's going on, but you know that you're feeling deeply impacted here, this is the stone that's your divination stone to help also tap you into your own divine and your own understanding. Because a lot of times, too, there's an instinct that's going on that you're not giving credence to. You're not trusting that bit of instinct. And this is going to tell you to fucking pay attention. To is this a struggle because it's uncomfortable, or is this uncomfortable because you shouldn't be here and doing it? This is the stone that will help you navigate that. The green aventurine is a great one if you are going through this energetic fatigue, if you're feeling like there's no balance, if there's real imbalance with your energy levels, with love, grief, sorry, if you're doing all the ups and downs and it just feels like you're overly full, overly not, if it feels like there's a wild imbalance on the energetic side of love, this is the one that you would tap into and use that way, right? Utilization number one is that's sitting there and doing that piece of connection, body work connection, right? You're putting the stone where it's needed, drawing the energy as needed, and seeing how you get that flow to change. Now, another really great thing to do that you can do specifically, because utilization can be different per crystal. Rose quartz is one I would recommend absolutely for doing water work. And when I say water work, I mean things like immerse yourself, take a bath, draw a bath, and put a rose quartz stone directly into the bath water with you. Rose quartz works beautifully with water. It actually will enhance and charge the water itself, especially if you've charged the crystal before. But it will charge the water. So being in there and immersing yourself is actually lovingly using the energy from this stone in a tangible way in water to charge that water and really energize your entire body with that compassion, understanding, love, soothing nature of self-love, right? That compassionate piece. I love doing that. I probably do that once a month, just letting you know. It's a wonderful thing. You can't do that with every stone. Fluorite is still a softer stone, all things considered. You would never know it looking at it. It looks hard and crystalline and everything else, but overexposure to water for fluorite actually can harm the stone over time. It will just slowly start to degrade It's a softer stone. Green aventurine, you can as well. You can as well put green aventurine in water, in bath water, and actually green aventurine, rose quartz, and amethyst together in a bath is just an absolutely beautiful energy bath that you give yourself that really has to do with love, attunement, beautiful. It's energy spa day, body massage. Like, and I'm just telling you, it's a wonderful energetic experience. Rose quartz, another thing you can do with it is actually infuse water with a stone. Sounds silly, right? But I would also recommend doing it with moon energy, which has got its own beautiful draw and healing and connectivity. So what you would do is you would take your rose quartz, you would put it in a clear glass, both very important, clear glass jar or bottle, and leave it out either through an entire moon cycle covered so that you're not getting other stuff in it, or simply on a full moon. And what you're doing with that is you're actually charging all of this compassionate love, intention, understanding into this water. What can you do with this water after you're done? You can use it as a body spray, a face splash, something just to kind of impart that beautiful healing into self. You can also drink it. Drink the water, actually impart and give yourself an internal dose of that limitless love, right? Especially at a point where you're struggling with love. Self is always the place to start, right? So fuel yourself, give yourself that. Combine that with a bath. Rose quartz has never loved its job more. So the other thing you can do is wear or carry. Do never be afraid to turn a stone into a piece of jewelry. And that can be as simple as taking a wire and wrap it around. It can be sticking it in a bra, sticking it in a pocket, wearing a crystal, but especially wearing one close to whatever area it is that you're feeling issues, right? So since we're really focused on heart chakra issues, I'm a big believer, if you are my bra wearing folk, it's easier with the smooth stones. Fluorite's a little tricky, but you can absolutely do it. Rose quartz, aventurine, even fluorite, as long as you've got a rounded piece. There is also a beautiful thing, and I especially recommend this one for fluorite, is actually using it as a true attunement stone, right? Asking, especially if you're having heart, place it under your pillow at night or on a bedside stand, somewhere right next to your bed, somewhere right where you're going to sleep, right? So placement can be huge. And fluorite is that great one because fluorite likes to sneak up on you. Like I said, this one also is directly crown chakra related, and it loves to pick up divinity and actually just kind of impart that spiritual connective wisdom to what's going on. But because it also connects so well with the heart, this is a great one when you're struggling and kind of still imbalanced with where to go, what it means, what the feelings are. This can work beautifully for dream interpretation, especially keeping it somewhere where you sleep. You may wake up with, oh my gosh, I totally understand this so differently now, or I just had a great idea, or oh my gosh, this stone works for divination so beautifully well that I can't recommend that highly enough. Another really easy base place that you can put these is on an altar or a space in the home, especially areas when you think about it. What we've talked about with these stones is where they work, right? What they do. They work with the heart chakra and in different elements. If you find that you are getting into a lot of arguments in a certain area of your home, of your space that are draining you on certain aspects, right? The energy, the compassion, the understand, like the clarity, whatever. That might be in that almost feng shui easy way, calling you to use these stones in those areas of your home. You'll notice a difference. If you're unsure, put them in the areas that you think they might connect. Test it out for a week or so. If you start noticing very vaguely, you're like, wow, I'm not having that same argument. Or, hey, I'm not feeling that some kind of way in this space or this room, or hey, all of a sudden I used to feel drained here. Now I feel a little more energized. That's kind of how you know. And you'll know if they're out of balance too, because all of a sudden either it stops working, or you stop feeling it, or you put it somewhere and it's not what you want. That's how you kind of know the movement. So part of it is also this. The more that you tune in, the more that the utilization becomes easy. These were a few really easy ways to utilize these stones. The best way to utilize these stones is to actually connect with them energetically. And they're going to tell you which way you should be utilizing them. Now that you've kind of got the base idea, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if there's any particulars. I will list a lot of things throughout this that hopefully answer some questions. But that's it for utilizing the 3 heart chakra stones, the Anahata stones that we spoke of. Again, rose quartz, green aventurine, and fluorite. And again, just that energetic connect, that's going to be your first step to utilizing any of these energies. And when I say utilizing them too, bringing, it all starts with you, right? The stones are a beautiful part of it, but it all starts with you. It starts at home. Bring your energy in. All right. Love and peace.